after you've said big numbers, $5 or $6 seems cheap. So what we consider to be cheap and expensive really depends on the context. So let's go back to stocks and real estate. Well, you know, in real estate, you'll hear people that will say, I didn't buy a house because it cost too much, and I wish, I wish homes were not as expensive because then I could go buy real estate. So I'm going to wait until the housing prices get cheaper. Well, think about it though. You know, let's say you go into a neighborhood and the average house there is $250,000. And, you know, if you look back in history, those houses might have been $100,000, right? Maybe a decade earlier. And so maybe you're thinking, oh my God, I can't buy here because it's too expensive, because it's $250 and it used to be $100. But what do you think is going to happen if you wait another 10, 20 years? Well, now those $250,000 houses are going to be worth $500,000. They're going to be worth $600,000, $700,000, right? So basically, you know, smart people when it comes to investing are people that they don't compare the present to the past. Smart investors tend to compare the present to the future, right? So a smart investor is a person who has enough vision to see, you know, what this could look like 10, 15 years from now, right? Like a smart investor in 1978 was not thinking about 1978. A smart investor in 1978 was thinking about 2018. They were thinking, if I do certain things now in 1978, then my grandkids can be balling in 2018. It doesn't matter if I drive a truck or if I work at, you know, at a beer factory, or if I am a maid or a cook for white people. If I invest just, you know, a few dollars a week into the stock market, and I do that consistently based on history, then by the time my grandchildren are here in 2018, they're going to be in a really strong financial position where they'll never have to come and work in a factory. They'll never have to wash white people's clothes, right? So the question you must always ask yourself is, are you a person who only sees the present and the past, or are you a person who can also see the future? And this actually becomes the crux of the big debate when you're talking about what's going on in the Black community economically. When people talk about where Black people are in terms of wealth and where Black people can be, I run into a lot of people who will say, they'll say, Doc, what you're talking about is nonsense. This is stupid. Black people don't have any money. Black people don't have any wealth. Or Black people have been through this, this, and this. Black people didn't have any wealth in the past. Look at what white people did to us. And what I end up saying to them is I say, okay, I understand what you're talking about. You're referring to what we have in the present, and you're looking at what happened in the past. But the big game is not being played in the present. The present will vanish and disappear. The big game is not being played in the past. The past is really gone. I mean, there's things that need to be rectified about the past, but the past is the past, right? The big game is really played in the future. And it's being played by those, or being dominated by those, who have the best ability right now to prepare for the future. Like imagine in your head right now that if you could go back to 1982 and decide if you want to be a stock market investor in 1982. Now, let's share the screen here. I'm gonna share the screen on the blackfinancialchannel.com. Those who are not on the blackfinancialchannel.com, you won't see this, so you can imagine this, or if you want, you can go to the blackfinancialchannel.com if you want to see the screen share. So imagine you could go back to 1982. Now it's 1982, you know, back when Irene Cara was like a big movie star. She was singing like "What a Feeling." Remember "What a Feeling"? I think that's her song. And they were making movies like Breaking and Bustin' Loose and Beach Street and stuff like that, right? So 1982, you know, Dougie Fresh is a teenager. Everybody's going to school talking about, oh my God, right? And okay, so 1982. Look. The stock market is $1,018, or sorry, the Dow, scratch that. The Dow is 1,018. And imagine if you were in 1982 knowing what you know now. Like you can see this whole green, all this green. You can see where the market's going to go, how much money is going to be made, how much wealth is going to be built. I want you to ask yourself, what would you do with your money if you could go back in time to 1982 and start investing then? What if you could go back to 1982 and buy real estate? Would you buy real estate, or would you rent an apartment? What would you do? What would you do if you could go back to 1982 and buy stocks and bonds? Would you buy some stocks and bonds, or would you just spend your money on like cheeseburgers and Air Jordans and stuff? Well, Carmelita is right. Carmelita says I would buy. You would buy, right? So we are in agreement. Tell me if you agree. Tell me if I'm sounding crazy right now, or if you understand what I'm saying, if you agree. Tell me what you would do if you could go back to 1982 and make investment decisions back then. What would you be doing when it comes to stock investing or real estate? Okay, Francis says buy real estate. Diane says, I wish I knew what I know now. Vincent Wright says agree. Okay, good. You would buy. So here's the $1 million question. This question is going to change your life. It's a simple one, but I want you to process this. If you just agreed with me and admitted to me that if it were 1982, you would be buying like crazy, then why aren't you buying now? Why aren't you buying now? Because what 1982 was to 2018 is what 2018 is to the year 2054, if I did my math right, right? So 1982 was 36 years before today. If you take 18 plus 36, you get 54. So what 1982 is to 2018 is what 2018 is to 2054. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the year 2054. Here's some facts. Racism will still exist in 2054. White people will still be acting white in 2054. There will still be, in America, there will still be a labor class, a poor class, a working class, a middle class, an upper class, and an ultra rich class. A lot of what you see now, those are old school folks who are in the room. Tell me, think about 1982. Some of y'all too. I think the sister said she wasn't born in 1982. So let's educate the youngins on that. To 1982, I want you to ask us. Tell me this: was 1982 really that much different from 2018? Politicians were still stupid. White people were still racist. You still had poor, middle class, upper class, like you do now. You still had factory jobs. You still had real estate. Like things weren't that much different, basically. A lot of the rappers that you see today came right out. They're direct descendants of rappers that existed in 1982. Some of them still rapping. I mentioned Dougie Fresh. Dougie Fresh is still out rapping, still performing, right? So my point in all this is to say that 2054 may seem like, like some year that's so far in the future that is never going to arrive, and that, there'll be aliens like on Earth and flying cars, and, and the world will be wonderful and things will just be so different from what they are now. But it's not true. 2054 will just be a time where they say, yeah, this whole thing that we're doing now, it started back in 2018, right? It'll just be a year where there will be people. Some of you in this room will be alive in 2054. It's just, instead of being the young person in your family, you'll be the grandma, right? But you'll still be around. You won't feel as old as you end up looking. You won't feel as old as you think that you'll be. I didn't mean you'll look it. I don't know why I said that was dumb, because black don't crack. We know that. So my point here is this. Go back to what I said before. If you started preparing in 1982 for the year 2018, then you could easily, based on very basic things you could do at any income level in 1982, you could easily make your family into millionaires by the year 2018. You could literally have over $1 million in wealth in your family if you started in 1982 with a certain mindset of investing and building and buying real estate, et cetera, and you'd be in a great position now. So 2054 is to 2018 what 1982 is for today. So the same way you could have built yourself into, or your family into, millionaire status in 1982, then you can do the same thing now for 2454. So what I encourage you to do is this: when you're thinking about wealth, when you're thinking about money, I don't want you really focused so much on what's happening right now. Anybody who lived in 1982, if all they could do was think about 1982, then they wouldn't have been prepared for 1992, 2002, 2012. Because people who live in the moment don't succeed. That's one of the reasons I think a lot of our people struggle, is because we don't have anybody giving us the skill set to be able to see the big picture and think long term. A lot of people that ruin their lives, like think about a man who has, 8 kids, with 6 babies mamas and can't afford to pay the bills, right? How did he get to that point? Did he make a plan to be in that position? Did he say, my goal is, to make more kids than I can afford, and I just want to make sure I'm financially destitute by the time I'm 35? Did he make that plan? Was that his goal? No, that was not his goal. His plan didn't work because he had no plan, right? So his goal was, if you'd ask him back then, like, where are you going to be in 10 years? He'd say, I don't know, I'll probably be rich, I'll be doing well, and blah, blah, blah. Or are you going to end up as a man with 8 kids and 6 babies mamas who can't afford child support, who's crying in court in front of the judge like a little wimp because you can't take care of your children? He'd be like, no, that ain't going to be me, man. That ain't going to be me. Right? But it is you, right? So how did that happen? How does that occur? How do you become the you that you never thought you were ever going to be, right? It happens due to a lack of planning. So if you want to get ahead in life, this is just free game for those who want to be successful. The goal is to plan and think like an investor. If you want to know the secret to my success in life, which if you want to call me a successful person, I think that, I guess I kind of am, right? I was the only Black person on earth to get a PhD in finance in 2002. Nobody else on the planet got that degree. It was very, very hard to get that PhD. And I've done a few other things that stood out. The key to the success, honestly, was thinking ahead and thinking like an investor. My belief always was, I'm going to sacrifice things now that my friends aren't sacrificing so that I can have a better life later on.